Folks, the Football Manager Streamer Showdown is back this weekend for the first season of FM21. And in this video, I'm going to introduce you to my team, show you the players and the systems that are going to allow me to win my 5th Streamer Showdown. Hello folks, and welcome to something a little bit outside of the norm here on the channel. As mentioned in the intro, the Streamer Showdown is back tonight. I was playing in it all last year. I won the thing 4 times. That's why they call me Kevy 4 times. But I've never really talked about it in a YouTube video before. So I figured for the start of the new season, for the FM21 version of the Streamer Showdown, I'd start doing exactly that. We did the draft on Thursday night over on Twitch. This is the squad that I drafted. The other 8 competitors all drafted their squads as well. And I'm sure if you check out their YouTube channels, there's a very good chance you'll see an introduction to some of their teams over on their channels too. But the event itself starts tonight over on Twitch, 7 p.m. My games will all be on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/LOLLUJO. Everyone else will be streaming their own games from their perspectives. And there's also going to be the FM Streamer Showdown Twitch account that I'll link to below as well, where you'll be able to see a Sky Sports News Soccer Saturday style overview of everything that's going on. My recommendation would be watch me and watch the lowdown, because then you get to watch my stuff in detail and cheer me on, because obviously you want me to win, right? But also you get an overview of everything else that's going on through the guys over on the lowdown as well. So if that sounds like something that interests you, make sure you head down into the description and follow all of the relevant Twitch channels, follow the social media channels. The Streamer Showdown takes over the Football Manager community the weekend that it's on, and that is this very weekend. I'm excited. You should be excited too, and I hope I'm going to see a lot of you over on Twitch tonight and tomorrow night from 7 p.m. as I look to win the showdown once again. But before we get into any of that, let's meet the team. I mean, firstly, you can see here who the other competitors are. If you've not paid any attention to any showdown stuff so far, maybe this will tempt you in. So trying to stop me becoming a 5-time champion, debutant Chesnoid, Clates, who's never won one, Dr. Benji, who's never won one, Fox in the Box, who's never won one. And then we've got 1-time champion, second yellow card, 1-time champion, Tom FM. Some guy called Work the Space who's also never won one. And then this fella who fancies himself as a Football Manager expert, Old Zealand, who also has only won 1 time. 1 is less than 4. Kev's better than Zealand, and we all know it. But let's have a look at the squad, and these are the boys. We had £500 million budgets and the top 5 leagues in Europe to pick from. So the Premier League, Bundesliga, Liga and Serie A, La Liga. And I, as ever, have gone more for a squad than a team full of superstars. I deliberately haven't gone out there and got the likes of Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar and Mbappe, because they take up close to like £100 million just to get them, which uses up an awful lot of your budget and leaves you with holes in the rest of the team. If you look at the teams that have got those kind of players, they might have a dodgy defence or a dodgy midfield or maybe a dodgy keeper, poor substitutes. I think we've got a very solid, a very strong 18-man squad that I would be happy to play any of these players in the final when we get there. Not if, when we get there. Any one of these 18, I would be happy to start in the final. Obviously, I have some teams in mind, but squad-wise, I'm pretty happy. If we go through it one by one, in goal, we've got our first choice goalkeeper is Donnarumma, who, if you've watched the showdowns in the past, you'll know he has goal-scoring pedigree for me, famously scoring twice against Zealand to knock him out of a previous showdown. And, of course, was my goalkeeper for Leicester in the Leicester series this year. That's a common theme. I've got players not only that have done well for me in the Streamer Showdown in the past, but I know are already good in FM21 because I've played with them this year. And Donnarumma meets both of those criteria. And his backup costed me only £4 million. Lucas Hradecki as a backup goalkeeper. I'm pretty comfortable with him as a backup option. I reckon, I mean, you can have a look through the other squads. Pretty sure best backup goalkeeper in the tournament, which could be crucial because if goalkeepers are just as likely as anyone else to pick up injuries. Then at the back, we've got Timothy Castagna as a backup fullback for both sides. Obviously, he was a bit of a hero for me in my Leicester save. I love the fact that he's comfortable playing either side at fullback. It means we only need one reserve fullback in the squad, and he can cover both sides, which is important when we're only operating with 18-man squads. So Castagna, I think, was a very important squad member for me. He was my 4th round pick. I went for him early because he was so important to be able to have that flexibility off of the bench to come on and play either side of defence, either side of midfield. And we've then got 3 options at centre-back: John Stones, Virgil van Dijk, Alessio Romagnoli. Obviously, Virgil van Dijk, he's a 2-time showdown winner with me. The first 2 that I won last year, he was instrumental. His aerial threat from corners is like nothing else in the game. He is the aerial threat from corners in FM20 and FM21, and I'm delighted to be reunited with my boy Virgil. Romagnoli, of course, was great for me in the Leicester save, and John Stones was just so cheap. £13 million for John Stones. I know he's not necessarily the John Stones everyone thought he might turn into when he first went to Manchester City, but for 13 million quid as potentially a backup to Van Dijk and Romagnoli, or maybe even pushing Romagnoli for that starting spot, I think Stones is great value. We've then got Ferland Mendy as my starting left back, and Trent Alexander-Arnold as my starting right back. The idea with Trent is that he's going to be my set piece taker. So with Trent curling in those in-swinging corners for Virgil, Stones, Romagnoli to be lurking around to nod in, we are going to be a major threat from set pieces. And of course, if we need a backup midfield player, Alexander-Arnold can step forward into the midfield. Castagna can come in the team, and we're not massively weakened by doing it. When we get into the midfield, I was looking for flexibility from all of my midfield players. So you'll see pretty much all of them can play pretty much anywhere in the midfield. I'm going to show you in a second the 3 tactics that I'm probably going to be taking into the showdown. And I need DMs, I need central midfielders, I need attacking midfielders, I need wide midfielders. And all of these players can cover all of those roles, and no one's going to be excluded by a change in tactics. So if we start with a 4-2-3-1 but switch to a diamond, we're not suddenly left with a bunch of wingers that we can't fit back into the team. I was very conscious to select wide players who could play as attacking midfielders, or could play central midfield, or play fullback, for example. So we're going with Saul as my box-to-box midfielder, maybe a deep-line playmaker option sitting deep. Very similar roles to what Jordan Henderson and Aaron Ramsey are probably likely to do. The 3 of them are going to be fighting over a lot of those central midfield positions. Jordan Henderson is someone who I've had in a previous winning showdown side as well, so I know how important Henderson can be, and his flexibility to play central midfield or defensive midfield is crucial. Plus, leadership-wise, Jordan Henderson is like natural born captain, 19 for leadership, and that's important in tournament football. Lorenzo Pellegrini was a bargain. I think he was another one who was sub £15 million, and he can slot into the central midfielders, but also play as an attacking midfielder if we decide to use attacking midfielders. And Pellegrini is another one similar to Trent, who is such an incredible set piece taker. His corners, his free kicks could well prove crucial as the tournament goes on. I don't necessarily imagine Pellegrini to be in my first starting 11, but it's tournament football where matches come Wednesday, Saturday all the way through. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be tired players. There's going to be rotation. There's going to be suspensions. Pellegrini will get game time, and when he does, those set pieces are going to be crucial. Plus the fact that he's pretty decent as a creative playmaker to unlock chances for our very quick strikers as well. Also able to play in that attacking midfield role, but also cover areas out wide. We've got Pedro. Everyone laughed at me drafting Pedro because some people make the mistake in the showdown of picking players based on how good they are in real life. But Pedro can play anywhere across the attacking midfield 3. He's very quick. He's very creative. He's a good dribbler. He's got a good shot on him. For an attacking midfielder who can cover all these areas, whether it's centrally or out wide on either side, he can use either foot. Pedro's a great player to have in there. And again, probably not going to be starting the first game, but to be able to have him on the bench to come on and cover all of those areas, I picked him for his flexibility. He's like an attacking James Milner. And I probably would have got James Milner if it hadn't been for some of the flexibility I got in some of the other players like Castagna and Trent to be able to cover multiple areas. But Pedro, definitely an option for me. Nicolo Zaniolo is probably my risk because normally I would recommend in the showdown not going for young players with potential, because it's a tournament that's over by October. You don't have time to develop the potential. But I think Zaniolo's got ability now. We're not picking him for his potential. We're picking him for how good he is right now. Obviously, in a few years' time, he's going to be even better. And I've heard from people having him in saves this year, and he does become absolutely incredible. But at 20 years old, to already be this good, and again, to be able to play out on the right-hand side as an inverted winger, to be able to play as an attacking midfielder, central midfield, he can cover the left-hand side as well. That flexibility, again, is important. And Jack Grealish is another player we get that flexibility from. He's another player who's been in one of my previous showdown winning squads. And I like to go for him because, firstly, he's really good. And secondly, he can cover all these roles. I'm probably going to use him in central midfield as a Mazzala. I could just as easily use him as the attacking midfielder. I can play him out wide if I decide I'm not going to use Rashford out there. But Grealish can cover all sorts of different areas and is awesome. Talking of Rashford, Marcus Rashford is always a solid player in the Streamer Showdown. I got him in round 16 of the draft. We realised we had a little bit more money left. We were probably going to go for Mason Greenwood as a third striker, but realised we could afford Rashford. And I think rather than getting a third striker, I've got a potential starting striker, certainly a potential starter out on that left wing. Rashford is another one who gives us that flexibility to be able to play out wide, play out front. And he always scores goals in the Streamer Showdown. The Streamer Showdown, certainly from my perspective, plays a lot like FIFA in so much as it's all about pace going forward. It's about pace. It's about counter-attacking. I would rather have Rashford than Cristiano Ronaldo in a showdown team. I'm not saying Rashford's better than Ronaldo. I'm saying in the showdown, I would go for Rashford over Ronaldo or Messi. And I'm delighted to have been able to pick him up so late in the draft. And then two strikers who certainly I think are going to do an excellent job for me in that pressing forward role that you saw in the Leicester save earlier in the FM21 cycle. Obviously, we all saw Belotti get a 40-goal season for my Leicester side. Belotti only cost me £15 million. He's an absolute bargain. For my main striker, if you like, Belotti could easily be the main striker. I kind of had a coin flip between Jamie Vardy, who was also great for me in the Leicester save and has also been really effective in previous showdowns. But Lautaro Martinez is someone who always looks good. I think he signed for Manchester United in my Leicester save. He's been involved in showdowns before and always looks a threat. He's now a year older than he was last year. That's how birthdays work. And I think Martinez is a better Vardy than Vardy now. Vardy, I mentioned on stream, I had a couple of worries about Jamie Vardy because at the age he's at now, although he's still really effective when he's fit, as we saw in the Leicester save, he is quite injury prone in FM21. And we saw it in that save. I've had a number of people come in contact with me and say, yeah, I've had Vardy get a long-term injury as well. And I just thought with Vardy playing Saturday, Wednesday, I don't think Vardy can play every game. I think Lautaro Martinez can. And then if we're bringing Belotti in, it's purely because of an injury or suspension, or maybe just because we prefer him. So I think we've gone with someone we know and trust in Belotti, someone who's a bit of a risk in Martinez, but I hope the risk pays off and I hope he ends up as effective as Jamie Vardy has been in the past. So that is our squad of 18 players. As you can see, there's no weak link there. We've not got any trash. We've not gone out and got a £500,000 player because we couldn't afford anyone else because we got Messi or Ronaldo. And not many of the other competitors can say that. Tactics-wise, I've got 3 plans. I did have 4. I've narrowed it down to 3 because when we start the showdown up on Saturday evening, we get full tactical familiarity for the 3 tactics we've got loaded. So although I've trialed 4 different systems and they're all pretty good, there's no point in having the 4th one because it won't have the tactical familiarity. But looking through, I'm thinking they suit a 4-2-3-1 brilliantly. If we just do the quick pick just to show you how easily they can fit into a 4-2-3-1, I mean, that looks pretty solid to me without even having to touch it. Obviously, Romagnoli could come in there for Stones. You could just as easily put Pellegrini in here. You could drop Grealish back. You could move Zaniolo over here. You could put Pedro out on that right-hand side. You could swap Belotti out for Martinez. If things aren't going our way, you could maybe take the attacking midfielder off and stick Belotti and Martinez up front on their own. You could stick Grealish out on the left-hand side, stick Rashford up front. There's so much variety we can do with a 4-2-3-1, I think this might be my go-to tactic. But if we have a look at the other two we've got as well, we've got the 4-3-3, which is pretty much the tactic we used in the Leicester save. My worry of this is after the most recent update in that save, it wasn't as effective as it had been earlier on. But this is also one of the tactics I used a lot in the Showdown last year. And again, quick picking the boys into it. I think I'd probably put Henderson deep and Sol as the box-to-box midfielder. I really like the idea of Grealish as a Mazzala. Again, Zaniolo out on the right could be really, really effective, I think. Castagna can come in and cover on either of those sides. We could stick Trent in there and put Castagna in if we had to. There's so much flexibility on what we can do. And again, the players fit in there perfectly. And that's the same 11. This is the important thing as well. If we start a game like this and it's not going our way, we can switch with the exact same personnel, do that, and all of a sudden it's a different shape. You can even do it with the third tactic, which is a diamond. And again, without changing the personnel around, you can pretty quickly get this into a system that would work. I mean, you perhaps wouldn't go for Grealish there as a first port of call if you were picking this from the start, but you can switch to it mid-game. And if we just hit selection, in fact, Selection Advice is saying do that, I'd probably argue maybe not. This is probably a situation where, where's Pellegrini? Why can't I find him? He's there somewhere. There he is. You'd perhaps have Pellegrini in there. You'd maybe have Grealish there. You could maybe have Ramsey in there, who's very good on FM21. Not as old as you think either. Only 29, Aaron Ramsey. Just hope he doesn't get injured. But as you can see, we've got the flexibility to move around between these three systems mid-match without having to make substitutions, which again is why it was so crucial to get these players, get the players who've got the flexibility to move between the different roles and allow me to change the game on the fly, depending on how it's going. So if we're getting overwhelmed out wide because we're doing the diamond, we can just stick a couple of players out wide without making a substitution. And flexibility like that and squad depth like this is why I think I'm going to win the Streamer Showdown for a 5th time. We're going to keep doing this is going to be the thing. 5 times. It's going to be beautiful. And I hope you come in, join the fun over on Twitch with me tonight. It's twitch.tv/LOLLUJO to watch my perspective, or twitch.tv/FM Streamer Showdown to watch the lowdown. I'll link to everything you need to see down in the description below. But the most important thing is come on over, get involved. It's no exaggeration to say there'll be thousands of people watching the showdown over the course of this weekend. It is the best thing that happens in the Football Manager community all year. And it's back again, and I'm excited. So hopefully you're excited too. Let me know down in the comments what you might have done differently, what tactics you might do, how you'd arrange these players. Am I missing something obvious? Am I wrong about something? That's what the comment section is for. And hopefully I see you over on Twitch this evening. If you've enjoyed that video, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for all my other normal Football Manager stuff. Plus, I'm doing this before every showdown now. I've decided this has been fun. And thank you very much for watching.